This could be the most important minute of your day.
We have been through difficult times
and face big problems ahead.
But every crisis contains both danger and opportunity.
You can play your part.
Right now.
Please close your eyes.
Imagine the better future we could have.
Imagine that future.
What does it look like for you?
for the people you love.
How do we lift each other up
And make it fair.
How do we protect nature?
and save our shared home? Picture that future you want.
Now open your eyes.
It's time to talk about the future we want.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the WIC ESG 2024 AI and Sustainability Preparedness Summit. Today is like one of the most important days for all of us. So this particular summit is in the fourth year, and this is one of the industry's prestigious event at the intersection of AI and sustainability. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. What we have done for this particular event is making sure that you are able to learn about AI and sustainability. So this year is made possible with the sponsorship of EY. Together, we are in the place to equip all of you to become leaders with tools and insight to address today's challenge with the AI-powered solution. Did you know 71% of CEOs personally take responsibility for ensuring the company's ESG efforts along with customer values, demonstrating the growing importance of social responsibility in the corporate governance? And today's particular session for all of us gathering here is to really look at leadership, sustainability, how to advance your careers with the ESG as a capability, and also drive AI innovation with responsibility. I want to personally thank EY for sponsoring and supporting the most important movement for women and allies to be part of the ESG-driven transformation. So how many of you know about Women in Cloud? Just say, actually, let me ask you the question. How many of you are new to Women in Cloud? Put it in the chat, new. Not yes, new. Okay, so we have a lot of new people. So welcome to all of you, and people who are part of the Women in Cloud, welcome to all of you again for being part of this experience. We are really excited to have you. For those of you who don't know Women in Cloud, and me personally, why am I here? I'm Chaitra Vedalapalli. I'm the president of Women in Cloud. Our mission is to unlock $1 billion in economic access for women and allies by 2030. Through the collective action, we serve 100,000 women and allies in 67 countries by providing AI in cyber scholarships, industry stages, and also the go-to-market accelerator. This year, we have seen a remarkable journey for the Women in Cloud. The first thing is we were able to set a Guinness World Record. We also won the Microsoft Prestige Award for the community impact. We also secured the Oscar notoriety for our Icons documentary and distributed over 2,500 Microsoft cybersecurity scholarship, bringing together the women and allies together. So the results and impact has been phenomenal because of you. These accomplishments not only just represent a milestone, but it's a collective proof that we are working together to make transformation happen. So at the core of our efforts, we are committed to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, ensuring the innovation drives global sustainability, equity, and economic inclusion. So over 450 people who have joined for this particular summit, we are asking for you to have a vibrant conversation and meaningful engagement today. In the chat, let me know if you're ready to engage with us. Thank you very much. Fantastic. The second thing that I want you all to learn is use the smiley face icon next to it and share the live reaction with the emojis and GIF, because that allows us to how we are feeling today, what we are engaging, and what it would look like. The third one is connect with in the virtual lounge with the speakers and other attendees. Make sure you're connecting with each one of you, because if you have come here, even if you have not made one or two friends, then there's no value provided. Make sure you connect with one or two folks today. And there you go. I love Marceville sharing that. I love it. And then share on the social media with the hashtag Women in Cloud or WIC ESG and or AI sustainability. Show your collective power that we are all connected here. Okay, so now how do you share on the social media? I'm going to share that link too. So we have created a very simple URL. Someone is going from my team is going to put there. So go ahead and click and share that, because what it does is to tell the rest of the world that you are participating in the ESG conversation and you are part of that movement. We invite each one of you to really ask questions. It's on your tab up, so make sure you are asking questions. So let's make sure we are unlocking opportunity where innovation meets the responsibility today. So the first question to get you engaged, because there are lots of prizes and lots of fun stuff. So when it comes to ESG, AI, and sustainability, what do you want to learn today? I know we have created the agenda, but what do you want to learn today? Because the speakers have done a fabulous job in creating a most amazing content for all of you. But I want to know is, what do you want to learn today? Take a moment. You can share it with your, how leaders are using and harnessing AI. That'll be great. How three are connected and related. Fantastic. How AI benefits in ESG. How can I be more aware and make the world a more sustainable place? What can I do as a regular person? We will talk about that. How can we leverage AI to create the impact? How can we earn money with AI? Veronica, spot on. Very good. You're in the right place. Practical use cases and business possibilities. How AI is changing business. Impact of AI in ESG. How can I do more? This is all the perfect reasons why you are here, and we are going to make sure you are actually, we are addressing that one. This next slide, please. There are lots of prizes for people who are engaging very actively. So the first one is the best pick GIF for emoji. We have a $10 gift card. So use those emojis to share with the speakers how you're feeling, what you have to communicate. So the best picked, there you go. I love already the Thursday GIF. Thanks, Dee. Second is insightful takeaways, because this insightful takeaways will be used in the blog post. So also all these insights will also get you to win a $25 gift card. And the most interesting question, you have a coaching with Michelle Pruitt. She's the senior director at Microsoft. You get to go hang out with her and you get to have a deep conversation of ESG and AI. Do you like the prizes today? Say boom in the chat. Oh, I love the emojis. Look at that. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, the last question before I invite someone else to start the day. This one is all about dilemmas. We have a lot of questions. We can make decisions. When it comes to ESG, AI, and sustainable, what dilemmas are you experiencing today? I know what you're going to learn, but what dilemmas are holding you back from moving into doing more in ESG, AI, and sustainability? Go ahead. Let me know. What are you thinking about? My thing about how to make AI, which is autonomous, which is going to be autonomous, that it does things with responsibility. How can we make sure that the AI can create a place where our content, our creativity is not compromised, and what kind of copyright policies we need to think about? It's important that I feel I don't make time for it. Sustainability of AI and responsible AI. How do we help businesses without generating more waste? I love it. What are the potential risks of relying heavily on AI for ESG initiatives? I'm concerned about the trade-offs using AI to achieve sustainability, Protecting artists, absolutely. The cost, how do we make sure? Making sure there is no bias. How can we remove the fear of it? I love that piece. Perfect. With that, we will actually kickstart today about how to lead with purpose and integrating sustainability and AI in corporate strategy. It is just going to open up the piece. Next slide. So it's my pleasure to introduce Michelle Pruitt, the most dynamic and strategic leader with the expertise across multiple industry. She's passionate about turning vision into reality through empowerment and operational excellence. She's also featured in AI as an AI strategist in Forbes, known for driving transformative initiatives and fostering collaboration. Beyond her corporate achievements, Michelle is also an Oscar qualifying executive producer, sought after keynote speaker, and a TEDx speaker coach, inspiring others to align stakeholders and realizing the impactful change. So, Prue, welcome to the ESG Summit.
Hey, Chai, thank you. I am so excited. I know that this is the 4th annual year. For folks who are new, it just gets better and better. So kudos for recognizing and seizing off on the opportunity. It's going to be freaking amazing.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go off the stage and I'm going to hand over both of you the baton, and you can lead with purpose for us.
Sounds great. First, let me say, I think all of us are, at least I'm speaking for myself, I'm going to have to up my meme game. I'm seeing what you guys are sharing in chat, and yeah, they're impressive. So welcome, everyone. We are going to explore today how AI can be a powerful tool in driving sustainability, particularly in sectors like mobility, transportation, smart cities. With me today on screen is Senta Belay. He is a colleague of mine when I was at SAP, who quickly turned into a team mentor, was always an ally, and who I'm lucky now to consider my friend. Now, before I get into some of his background, what I want to do is also ask for folks here in chat, let us know how you're engaging right now with AI or sustainability. Are you working with either of those? Are you just interested in pursuing a career path there? Are you studying these topics? Let us know. I'd like to see where you're coming from and what your background is. Now, Senta, like I said, he's just an amazing human. He has over 20 years experience in transportation and logistics, and he leads with purpose to drive sustainability and sustainable innovation in the mobility sector. He started his career as a Marine officer, and he managed large vessels. He transitioned into technology after earning his MBA, and at SAP now, he specializes in harnessing AI and cloud solutions to transform rail, transit, ports, and terminal industries. He is an SAP SME, and that does include SAP Business AI. He is known, Senta is known to help organizations implement forward-thinking business models which enhance the customer experience. I know he's committed to sustainability. I've seen it in his work and in his passions, and he leverages cutting-edge technologies to do. He plays a significant role in shaping the future of urban mobility through purposeful leadership. So Senta, thank you for joining us. I'm so excited that we're here together.
Working together as well. You can hear me, right? Just check, sound check. Perfect.
We can.
No, thank you very much for the invite. It's my first time showing up Women in Cloud as well, especially in this context, and back with Michelle. And this topic is close to heart as well. So really appreciate the invite, and no pressure at all, starting with the first presenters with you. So looking forward.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Senta, let's dive in. And the first thing that I really want to ask you and get your thoughts on the two topics, right? We have AI and we have sustainability, and often they're treated as individual separate priorities. What are your thoughts on how AI can strategically align with sustainability? Why are we combining them today? And what's your perspective there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So first of all, thanks for the invite as mentioned, and also all the organizers and EY as well for hosting us overall. Before going to the topic of AI and sustainability, just a brief mention of my background, as well as Preet mentioned, in operations back in the days on ships. So we had regulations like MARPOL about pollutions. We have noxious substances that you have to not emit because of pollution purposes. You have to make sure about recruitment of people, making sure the timeliness of the work environment. There's a lot of regulations that you have to adhere to. In those times, it was more a regulatory perspective. Now it's more of a sustainable action that we have to do. The things that we are doing now should be very future proof. So all those things that we are learning in operations back in the days are becoming designed as a framework. In fact, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 of them, came with experiences of different people to have a framework. So with that in mind, if you go to AI and sustainability, both of them have different frameworks to implement things. So sustainability, as mentioned, the leading one is the UN one, but almost every country, every region, they have special regulations for climate, special regulations for equity, special regulations for emissions. On the AI side, that's the newer thing, especially over the last two years. So all of us are figuring out what's the best framework. So I'm representing myself as part of my employer, SAP, and I'm also sharing with you my perspective. So within SAP, we have a very conscious framework for AI. We have to be relevant. Are we doing the right thing? We have to be responsible, and responsible is the one that ties more with the sustainability. Are we doing the right thing for whom? Are we doing it to make sure that it's only productivity and profitability, or are we also checking sure that the future aspect is not being impacted? And of course, at the end, you have to be responsible. You cannot give that much AI prowess in terms of consuming, and there was a question, consuming energy, consuming people's jobs. So you have to be conscious as well in terms of how you deploy AI within a sustainable framework. So I would put like direct answer. AI and sustainability have their own frameworks, but we have to find the right ways. And usually AI is like a tool to implement our sustainability initiatives. So we have to think in a way like a safe framework to use as a tool set to adopt to our sustainability frameworks that we already have. Maybe it's in inclusion, maybe it's in emissions, maybe it's in productivity gains as well. So I would frame it in that way.
There's so much to unpack there, but one interesting aspect I'd like to dive into first is you mentioned future proofing, and then you also had a reference about AI needs to be relevant. So let's take that future proofing and jump ahead, crystal ball, and we're looking at the next 5 to 10 years. How do you think AI is going to evolve in that time frame to accelerate sustainability goals?
Yep, that's a good question. In fact, like I think yesterday or before yesterday, I was listening to if you have seen this Gartner hype cycle, where we are in the hype cycle, and I was saying, okay, where exactly is Gen AI? It just reached the top and it's coming down a little bit. And this was this year's edition. And there are like agents, basically AI tools that do your bidding on a specific roles by role. So those are coming earlier. So as we see 5 to 10 years time frame, this is my perspective. The entire notion of this generative AI that came, it's all about predicting. It's basically statistics. You used to have like statistics, analytics, and you plot charts and say, okay, this is how this business is going to run, or you have some kind of a predictive capabilities. This has been turbocharged because we can actually predict things that might not happen, but in terms of knowledge base, if this has been done in the World Wide Web, this is what's going to happen. So if this prediction machines gets better and better, they are getting into a human level as well. So maybe super intelligence like way out the line, but within the time frame that we have, this iteration of technologies are getting faster. So the way I would think of it, if you start something and aligning yourself as soon as possible to those until without them becoming way forward in the Gartner hype cycle, you will be adapt because it's changing fast, and we have to adapt as well to influence where our framework is. We want it to be working for us, not replacing us. So that is a very key thing to look into, especially when we see 5 to 10 years time frame.
I love that you said you want it to work for us and not replacing us. And it's really a strong message because there is a lot of hype out there as to what AI may do in terms of jobs, and we're just not there yet. Santa, I know you as an operational strategist, and I also have seen through chats what folks are hoping to get out of this session. And part of that is how AI and sustainability, that intersection can be applied. As an operational strategist, let's get a little tactical here. How can organizations begin to implement AI in a way that balances operational efficiency with sustainability goals and initiatives? And I know you work with smart cities. Maybe that's what you want to talk about. You have broad experience, but what are your thoughts there operationally?
Yeah, so I would start this one with a very interesting observation that I had in April. So in April, we had a large conference, a railways conference, where mobility providers from smart cities came. We had it in Prague, in Europe, and there was a lot of people there doing a lot of different things, mostly on the asset management part. So we put a question on the screen and said, okay, where are you on AI? So some are exploring, some have deployed active use cases. The majority of them were like they are building pilots, and some of them are restructuring their IT to fit those requirements. So very small amounts not doing, very small amounts doing a lot, but the majority of them were doing pilots right now. So I'll give you a couple. I was actually writing down some of the notes when I knew that this thing was coming. So some pilot use cases. So one, for example, there is a company that SAP is working with. They do on demand, like mobility on demand is a big thing thanks to Uber, thanks to Lyft. But when you go into the cities, there's also a little bit of a congestion being added. Basically, the things that we aspire versus the framework that we want. We want walkable, environmentally free cities. Is this helping or not? So when this came into being, so this company, what they started doing is, okay, instead of replacing the existing public transportation, which is supposed to put a lot of people on the road without congestion, why don't we work on the edges, basically provide an Uber type of a service for the edges, not actually replacing the public transportation. So on-demand services. And they choose specific areas to implement and replace, for example, less used buses every 10 minutes when there's only 2 or 3 people, replace them by on-demand services at the edge, basically improving based on observations that they have had. So that's one example. And the second example that I really want to give, because this touches on the climate side as well. So when you do mobility, it's all about energy. So energy is consumed mostly from fossil fuels. So there is a lot of movement into electrification of these assets that will help us. But at the same time, electricity is also not for free. It's supposed to be coming either from renewables or actually burning fossil fuel. So there is another company that we are working with, SAP. We know how to measure consumptions, we know how to measure electricity, we know how to provide the billings and the financials. But then public transportation company that consumes energy instead of buys fuel has to know when to buy, from which provider to buy, and if that source is coming actually from a clean energy source. So those things are very ripe for AI type of a development. So that's what we are working actually. So the guys are matching supply, which is where it's coming from, the energy, and the demand, basically the electrified fleet, and make sure that you buy electricity, you charge your electricity, then based on the availability of a cleaner energy at a reduced cost. In a nutshell, buy your energy at night. But at the same time, you have to see whether that makes sense, because you don't want to disrupt operations. The buses have to come and be charged as well. So those are the 2 examples that I will give. But I know 15 minutes, so I will pause on that one and then give it back to you in terms of, okay, let's discuss about the other topics as well.
Yeah, no, those are great examples. And when you talked about the Uber example in smart cities, right, with the on-demand, it made me think about how this scales to enterprises from other industries, right, in terms of managing their own supply chain, their distribution, their delivery. And so that on-demand intelligence where AI connects with sustainability, I think is so scalable. And I don't know if you want to expand on that. Please do.
I would love to actually. In fact, now that you mentioned it, if we go back to the first conversation that we have a framework, right? One of the framework for ESG is basically you have to record everything that touches, let's say, from an emissions perspective. You have to report it in a right way, saying, okay, this is coming from scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, and then you have to act upon it. Let's start with recording. So nowadays, let's say you are procuring goods, you are moving services, those systems are being done by different IT departments from an IT perspective, and the role is also different. But at the end, they are documenting them. What AI is helping is like basically creating the report in a rapid manner, saying, okay, this is actually your report. And then that transparency helps us, as you said, in the supply chain. Okay, where is this coming from? Where is this energy? And then you can actually act on it. So you can see how AI is helping us in terms of the framework. And at the end, what is our purpose? To make things better. In this case, taking into the supply chain in mind and making sure there is reduced emissions on those supply chain items that you are using either for production or mobility as well.
That is fantastic. Thank you. All of this makes me think about the challenges in these initiatives. It's one thing to have the idea, right? You're in the ideation phase. And then there's a whole life cycle between that and to where when you execute and then sustaining and challenges throughout that whole cycle. So in your experience, what are the key factors in scaling AI-driven solutions from pilot projects to full-scale implementations?
That is a tough one. I will answer it in two ways. One in a personal experience, and the other one in a software experience. So let me start with the software experience. And this was actually a really good one because I was listening to another colleague of mine who his job is to use SAP software, create the business processes that the company wants, and then deploy it to enhance their processes. So what they're using AI for right now is like when you build those processes, you can basically expedite that by mapping the processes one at a time using AI. So when you deploy this, maybe you can start as a pilot, but then at a large scale, the AI supports you to scale it faster and faster. So that is like the corporate side. And on the personal side, I will say myself, I was like, okay, this Gen AI thing is crazy. So what I decided to start a fellowship. So I'm doing my own pilot in one of our Gen AI teams, and I have engaged with them in terms of how they are building this large language models for our specific use case. So basically, the business guy that's using the AI, I am helping on the innovation side from the product. So what I would say is, as a company, try with a pilot and try to scale it with the AI tools. As an individual, you have to get closer and closer to the AI innovation so that you can basically implement the framework that we are pursuing. In our case, it was the sustainability ideas.
It is terrific that you shared that you are doing this pilot program and that you yourself are pursuing education, because it is so important for people to embrace that, being curious and playing with these technologies, figuring out where those edges are. You talked about the edges in terms of the application, but it's also in how they perform, where how do humans work with that technology? Given that you're in this pilot and we have a couple minutes left, I want to ask you what emerging AI technologies or trends, maybe sustainability technology and trends, are you most excited about?
Outside of the super intelligent thing, probably.
Yeah.
So the one that I'm super excited about is the interface, the interactions with the interface. We have seen how we knew this LLMs existed, but the moment someone puts a chatbot on top of it and changed our minds, it was not like a chatbot like we knew it. There's nobody answering, or it will answer you 5 questions, but now it's actually predicting what you wanted to do. So that interface was a window into massive tool set. And in SAP, we are having an equivalent. It's called Joule. Copilot was the one that started. But when you see the entire interactions between us as humans and AI as a software, those text-based chats, I think they are going to be massively disruptive. And if you ask me to bring a little bit more as well, they will have, I think it's also much announced these days, they are called agents. Basically, they will do the job on your behalf. So that's those things that excite me a lot. Especially the interface may be replacing quite a lot of other things that we are used to in terms of clicking and joining a meeting. Perhaps that's where I am.
Yeah. You touched on something that's a personal fascination of mine, because I'm embracing Gen AI. I think it's an amazing tool that gives insight. It needs to be qualified. It's like your best friend giving you advice. Sometimes it's spot on, and sometimes it's just on the edge of what's accurate or applicable. And I think about now with kids, And they're going to be growing up, perhaps and more likely, with their own Gen AI assistant, and how much the technology knows about them. And these digital assistants are going to be integrated in lives. And the future is going to be very different in how we interact with them and how much agentic authority we give them to act on our behalf. And this is a tangent, so I'm just going to surprise you and say, what are your thoughts on that? Let's go sci-fi here for a second.
Scary, but good scary. I'm more of the optimist side. So I do see there's a big war going on, if you see online, about the optimists and the pessimists in terms of the AI. Really high up in their like dissertation, the PhD programs that they are doing, trying to see whether LLMs have solutions better or not. What I would say is it is happening anyway. It is being implemented anyway. So saying no versus building the guardrails, that is the best way to go. Because if we are engaged in it, being a fellowship, being actively building the pilots, we will see where are the issues when it comes to our children as well, and say, nope, this is not going to work. But if we have no idea and it's a black box for us, we don't even know what's going to surface for our kids. So that way, be involved and make sure that during the process, say, okay, this is a garlic, we don't want to have it. This is okay. But if we have no idea what's happening, we cannot even suggest anything.
Yeah, yeah. Senta, I love that you joined us. We have about 2 minutes left, maybe even a little bit less. What's your final thought or final takeaway for folks here today?
My final takeaway is this is a bit, innovation is accelerating fast. And one personal item I would add, because this is quite interesting as well. I never coded before, but I had understanding of applications. I have now a little bit of understanding of how code works thanks to LLMs, and you can actually deploy your own code and see how it works. I built a basic website saying, okay, how can I build it without actually asking my development colleagues to help me on that one? So the skill sets are in front of you. The knowledge is right there in front of you. It's basically harnessed from a lot of sources. So my feedback is this is not something that we can sit aside and look at. We have to be engaged, learn about it, and use it for our own purposes, whether it's sustainability, whether it's mobility in smart cities, or whether it's for our own personal development. It's not something that we can ignore.
Thank you, Senta. Thank you so much. This has been a fascinating chat. Thanks for sharing your time, your knowledge, and your experience. Great examples.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the invite as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Prue. Thank you, Senta. What a great conversation. And I think we all have to remember that we can't give blind access to the technology, right? Just say check off. I know the privacy policy you have to read, but you don't have any power, but you have to know how to use it. And the chat GPTs, you need to learn how to do it. Are you all excited today to be part of the chat GPT conversation? Okay, first is I loved all the conversations. So you will hear in the chat, use the emojis and tell us what was your takeaway from this conversation. For me was get ready, really get ready with tech. Otherwise you will be left behind. Again, Prue, Senta, thank you so much for being here today and keep engaging in the conversation.
Thank you very much.
The next panel is all about the AI innovation and trends that are leading sustainability goals. This is going to be another power conversation. But in the chat, I actually loved seeing, like Nana said, is I am studying masters in sustainability management and looking forward for a great career in that space. Selena talked about she's also doing masters in sustainability and have a bachelor's in AI. What a great skilling you're already doing. So I am very excited because there will be a couple of conversations today. We will be talking more about your opportunities, how to think about your resume, how we go deeper, and also building your own ChatGPT bot today. You get to learn that. And right after this one, we are going to pick the first prize for the best GIF for the emoji share. So be active and learn how to use that emoji capability. And then share your LinkedIn URL with all of us, because we all have to be connected as a community so we can stay in touch. We can talk about this. And I also want to thank Candace and Patricia for sharing job opportunities. Please go ahead and share that because it will be good. Now, coming to the panel for the AI innovation and trends for leading the sustainability goals, it's my pleasure to introduce Koilia Ghosh Roy. She is the data and AI enthusiast with 18 years of experience. You cannot go wrong with that. She's currently a senior AVP for the Enterprise BI COE, which is a Center of Excellence, and generative AI solution lead at EXL Service. And she has driven the BI transformation through the generative AI. Koilia brings a deep expertise in cloud data management, BI and AI solution, and is also a prestigious member of 3 AI Thought Leadership Circle. She's also featured as a guest speaker in several high-profile discussions, including the Deloitte's Women CIOs Steering India's AI Digital Future. Her accolades includes many of the Pinnacle Awards and the role model for Women in Cloud. So Koilia, welcome, and I'm going to hand over the baton, and you get to lead a conversation with Dexter and Julia.
Thank you so much, Chaitra. Absolutely. It has been an insightful and an engaging fireside session on integrating sustainability with AI in corporate strategy. And this engaging topic has actually opened up a very pressing subject that is currently going through all the corporates, and that is how to balance innovation with sustainability and prioritize investments. We will be discussing all this and many more in our session, AI Innovation and Trends Leading Sustainability Goals. And I'm really honored to welcome our highly esteemed panelist, Julia Armstrong, CEO and co-founder of Earth Knowledge, and Dexter Hardy, President of Integral. I would like to invite Julia, if you could take a minute to introduce yourself, followed by Dexter, so that our attendees can get to know you better.
Great. Thank you so much, Coelia. Yes, I'm Julia Armstrong-Dagnese, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Earth Knowledge. And what we do, I also want to add that I'm deeply honored that I'm Women in Cloud's B2B Women Tech Entrepreneur of the Year this year. I'm beyond grateful for that award and recognition. In just a moment, what we do at Earth Knowledge is we integrate some of the most comprehensive information around climate and nature risks to provide that to companies and financial institutions and governments related to opportunities around operations, supply chains, investments, etc. We're a top climate and sustainability partner for Microsoft, as well as a partner with NASDAQ.
All right. Dexter Hardy here, President CTO at Integral Inc. Simply put, we help companies move to the cloud. For those who understand that, it's moving virtual machines or Kubernetes, taking advantage of all of the things for scale and scalability, but also getting you ready for your journey into AI, because your systems need to be AI ready in order to handle the load that the prompts and the questions that the queries that the AI would charge. So glad to be here today.
Thank you so much, Julia and Dexter. I can't wait to hear from you. I'll start with Julia. Since you have a fabulous experience in sustainability combined with AI innovations, we understand that AI has taken the center stage of innovation in the current times. And it has come with its own benefits as well as challenges. And this presents the dilemma to the organizations. How do they balance this innovation with sustainability commitments? What are your thoughts around it, and how would you suggest to organizations to go about it?
Yes, we actually are pioneers in this space of sustainability with decades of experience. Some of our team actually are lead authors in the IPCC and IPBES. And so we do have a whole sense of a way that we are protective of what we think should not be included with AI-driven technology versus where AI does fit in. So I wanted to take you all on a journey, though, of an example of we work with many of the Fortune 2000 companies and help them be able to understand their operational supply chain investment risks related to climate and nature. The regulations that have unfolded from Europe as well as California are very serious, and there's a lot of responsibility with them. And it's also very exciting because it's driving ways for companies to actually make these changes to save money, to save communities, to really be more business resilient and leave a legacy of more sustainable decisions. But I want you to imagine, and some of you are executives in this area, but I want you to imagine that you're on a team with me. And what we're doing in this Fortune 2000 company or Global 2000 company that you are a part of is you're responsible for a level of ESG excellence and responsible for understanding climate and nature risks within your operations, supply chains, and investments. So imagining being involved together in this, it usually is a team of potentially 5 people, and it can include vice president for corporate sustainability. It can include the lead for ESG excellence and sustainability. Often it includes a lead related to operations and another lead related to supply chain management, and an attorney that focuses on environmental, regulatory, and sustainability. All of that, and usually the vice president is leading this kind of group with us, reports to the CFO of the Global 2000 company. That CFO then reports to the board. So these are very serious decisions because where there's climate and nature risk, there's implications at many different levels, and it's an exciting journey. So often when we're working with companies and individuals who are new to this space, because again, most companies have done some kind of sustainability reporting, but not many have actually taken a deep dive into where their physical assets are located for their operations and supply chains, and a deeper dive into what are those risks. So you want to do that in as innovative way as possible. So our example, this is just one example, but I'm going to walk you through with Earth Knowledge working with you in an innovative way. And what is innovative about what we bring is Earth Knowledge, we've actually built a digital twin of the planet. So part of our mission and our team actually in our souls is committed to healing the planet and really being able to provide the most accurate information. The planet is a system of systems. So we believe that the most accurate way to understand risks and opportunities at any location on the globe is to actually understand how these systems interact. If you think about when someone has a heart disease, the first thing we do is blood work, right? We have to understand what's going on in that person's systems. If we don't, we can make some really bad decisions. The same is true with the planet. So we're very excited about how innovative this approach is because it is so comprehensive that we integrate models from the subsurface all the way to the atmosphere and track all these different changes at every location around the globe at 1 kilometer or even higher resolution to be able to provide this information. So here we are as a team together saying, okay, we're ready. We're going to look at where operational risks are and opportunities. Let's select 200 of those locations. So we select 200, we take a look at through the digital twin where those risks and opportunities are. Now, part of the digital twin is we've created over 50 indicators. So each of those indicators has themes, and those themes relate to climate and nature and all kinds of different environmental risks. So we look at that through a lens of these indicators, and we understand at the physical locations, looking at 200, from a metric of 0 to 100, where are there high risks and where are we good and safe? So let's say we look at 20 of those that we say, okay, we better look more closely at these risks. And then we look at 9 of those to say, wow, 2 of the areas actually have wildfire risk. We better take a look at the forecasting related to that. We can do forecasting, whether it's daily, monthly, annual, decadal, out to 2100. So let's say then 2 of those sites, we need to take a deeper look at wildfire risk and do things to mitigate those risks. Then we look at a larger vision of these 200 assets, and we say, if we look at the forecasting to 2030, 20% of those assets are in areas where there may be water scarcity. We may end up having to move a couple of those operations, but we can plan and look ahead at that. And then we can look at also maybe we've made some great choices around biodiversity risks. Maybe we see sites where there's biodiversity that's already somewhat depleted. So the fact that we added our operations there doesn't mean that the risk has actually increased. In fact, it was probably a good decision versus deciding to select a location where biodiversity is mostly intact and our operations or supply chains may impact biodiversity. So this is an example of a way to innovatively work together because of this systems approach. It's critical that we do that and not just stream in water-related data or biodiversity-related data or climate-related data, but really understand those interactions. I'll talk in a little bit about, as we have built this model in digital twin, there's machine learning that we do use and some AI that we do use, and then there's other ways that we protect it and make sure that it's contained in ways that are documentable and reliable without AI.
Amazing, Julia. And this is digital twins using AI to analyze this vast amount of data to identify the sustainability commitment organizations have and then act on it. This is amazing. And this is really a breakthrough, I would say. And Dexter, how do you think that executives to stay competitive how can they ensure that their AI initiatives align with their sustainability goals? Would you like to also comment on how to balance this too?
Yeah, I think with anything, obviously, there's always a yin and yang, and you have to focus on that balance. Julia just mentioned integrating sustainability into the innovation process is key, especially as we start to add AI into it, because the speed at which we'll be able to deliver solutions and come up with different things are there. But if sustainability is embedded in that innovation process, I think that's one thing that will really help us foster better outcomes. Another thing is have measurable and reportable goals, because at the end of the day, yes, we can make things better, but better by how much, and leveraging AI to help us set those metrics. Because again, AI is looking back at history, is looking at historical data, so it could help us understand what benchmarks are there and how we can achieve those goals in a much more sustainable, long-term, interactive way for people who are adopting and trying to have both. Yes, we want innovation, but we also want the long tail of sustainability with the planet and being good stewards of what we have.
Thanks, absolutely, Dexter. And this actually reminds us that all organizations, in order to stay competitive, they're going at a breakneck speed to adopt AI. And this has its plus and positive and negative sides, right? Julia, how do you think the organizations can balance this rapid AI adoption with ethical considerations to ensure that this AI solutions benefit the people, the planet, and the profit in the long run? Something with Dexter touched.
Yes, I think it's tricky. And I think there is an eagerness and the hype that you all were talking about before to really jump on and use the latest AI technology, yet there has to be a lot of caution. So back to my example, just to share with you a little bit about our view and the lens through which we look at this. And again, our team at Earth Knowledge, we, in our souls, we're committed to healing the planet. This is our work, but it is, and really what we found is so many people that are drawn to sustainability and ESG, it becomes part of their mission and personally and life's work. So we want to protect the planet, people, and profits and leave that kind of legacy to generations. So our team, as I was sharing a little bit about, our director for climate science was President Obama's director in the White House. He shares the Nobel Peace Prize, is a lead author related to IPCC. We have 3 of our team that actually are lead or co-authors for national climate assessments, global climate assessments, and our director for natural capital is also a lead co-chair for the Biodiversity in Business IPBES Next Report. These are people who have for years really focused on what is the absolute most sophisticated science that we can then align. And we are pioneers in integrating how these different systems interact. We can't really understand climate change without understanding nature. We're dependent on the planet. We're always interacting with the planet. So we are very protective of our digital twin, that there's this rigorous process that we then evaluate the models that we integrate, and then we have built our digital twin and continue to revise, et cetera. Also, we find that companies and regulations, financial institutions, they all want to understand how are they getting the information. They're getting indicators from us to understand risks and opportunity. How is that? They also need to report that to these European, the ESRS, CSRD, TCFD, TNFD, these bodies, these frameworks. And so our indicators can allow then a way to understand and report. And it's not an AI black box. That is not what is going to really work, is some kind of magical way that it looks like we're assessing climate and nature. We actually need to be able to communicate, how are we making these assessments? Again, from our perspective, we have to have walls around what is actually human selected and driven, that is documentable, that can be disclosed as part of compliance requirements, et cetera. We have people who've literally testified in Congress, who've advised countries before. I mean, we know what is really needed. So that said, then the output of the twin, there's all kinds of AI capabilities and machine learning and all kinds of ways that then we incorporate being able to use this amazing AI technology, machine learning being all a part of that, to continue to improve models, to be able to categorize, to be able to scan massive amounts of images and reports and be able to draw conclusions. There's some of our customers that are actually scanning to understand reports of their supply chain, to see who of their supply chain has actually done reports related to TCFD before, who's actually on the TNFD forum, the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosure, which we're founding members of. There's all kinds of ways to use AI, both with the output of our twin, internally within Earth Knowledge, but also with the companies that we're working with, as well as being able to use it on your own to be able to improve more and more the sustainability and ESG practices, yet not have it be mystical in a way that you can actually document it and communicate it in ways that the board of directors and others would want to see that.
Amazing. And truly, you really have hit the note that government is actually committed that sustainability goals needs to be met, and environment has to be protected, and there has to be a giving back to the community. And that's exactly where every organization is trying. As organization, government is also trying to make the best use of it. And the solutions that you talked about really is helpful. And it just tells us how much AI can do for sustainability as well, and how we can use it to gain and make sustainability more achievable. And with that, Dexter, there's so much investments going around this, right? That the investment is actually revolving around these AI solutions. Now, with that comes, how do the executives prioritize the investments between AI and sustainability? And how do they support the sustainability efforts while managing their short-term revenue pressures as well as long-term strategic goals? So how do you suggest the organizations to work so that they can prioritize the investment in AI and sustainability?
Okay. So I think it's a journey. Anyone who's been in software, there's version 1, and then if you have an iPhone, we're on 18 of that iOS, right? So AI is going to be the exact same story. I have a mantra that I always tell my team: don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I can tell you who the quote is, but it's a quote, and that's how we have to look at it. But from a standpoint of AI and how do we approach that, I think there are 4 main pillars that we need to look at and take into account. One is an ethical AI framework, staying human-centric with our AI development, have a collaborative approach, and really look at the long-term perspective of what it is that we're creating. And just to double click into that and get into some of the weeds around it, it's just, again, AI is looking at the data that's there. So make sure that the data that we're giving AI is a diverse set of data points. things that happen in the US or different things that happen in LATAM or Latin America. Things are different in India. So we need to, as we build out these AI solutions, definitely focus on that from the long tail to make sure that the data and the data points that we're providing help drive better outcomes. And then how do we pull forward the use case around revenue and how to best leverage AI? A couple of things I can speak about is we have a large government agency. They have tremendous amount of calls coming into their call center, typically asking the same questions that are on their FAQ. So here's a live example of where you're being taxed in one particular location around, but you don't have enough resources to answer all these calls. It's the same questions over and over again. So what they did was we used an AI agent to basically index the entire FAQ section of their website. So now there is a interface, people can just type the question and it responds back with those answers, which eliminates the need for, or reduces the need for some of those same redundant questions that are happening, which gives that organization the ability to focus or refocus those resources elsewhere. And again, sometimes that was presenting a challenge because there wasn't someone there to actively engage with everyone in that model. And so that's where we're looking at the cross section of how are we good stewards of the things that we have, plus pulling forward and getting that low-hanging fruit that is operationalizing AI. How can we take AI to that next level and utilize it more? So
amazing. I think from the operationalizing, one thing that comes into mind is the carbon footprint. And there is an increase in carbon footprint which is driven by AI, right? So there are also many measures, Dexter, that everybody's taking, right? One is how do they optimize the model life cycle so that they can compress, improve, and optimize the parameters, and also do recurrent training so that it helps them to maintain the performance yet reduce the energy consumption. And with that, I would like to move to the next very interesting point, which you talked about, is getting this operationalized. So how do corporates make these a reality? Please, if you could suggest the key strategies one can implement in the next 30 to 60 days and practical tool frameworks that executives can use to measure the success of these AI-driven sustainability initiatives. What are your suggestions would be?
So yeah, when you're looking at the 30, 60, 90 days, that's really tactical, right? So again, beginning with the end in mind, you definitely want to think strategic. You want to have a long-term plan that you're marching towards. So we're not just marching and then having to change direction and march in a different direction. That said, look at your low-hanging fruit. I just shared an example of FAQs that you're getting on your call center. You're getting all these calls around general information that's readily available if you go and read the website, right? But now you have bottled it up in a scenario where you have your chatbot, or you could have a call in where AI is the voice of that chatbot. And now it's something that gives the organization, there's low risk of any of their IP, any of their internal systems or data that gets exposed. But the value proposition is immensely great because now you've offloaded that redundant work, and so that repeatable task that could be automated, right, without putting yourself at risk. And then just focusing on that longer tail. So how do you build on that? Now you're getting because you're using AI, most of the AI frameworks, Azure Studio, Azure OpenAI, they all have this capability. You can actually look at the scripts and see where are you getting the most questions, because that may be, hey, we need to change this process. We can improve the overall experience of our customers through analyzing this data, which is, yes, people want to have that reporting, but being able to capture those statistics and then drive back and reimagine how they can actually drive greater value through the use of AI in those 30, 60, 90-day programs.
Thank you, Dexter. It really helps, actually. And one of the things that people can also do is how to optimally deploy the resources. You can offload some of the less intensive workloads to edge devices or less expensive hardware, right, where you can actually manage the efficient energy as well as the cost. And with that, I would also request Julia, if you have any such strategies that you'd like to share. I think we are short of time and we need to manage it. So maybe you could, if you could share, and then we can open for questions.
Is there not time? That's okay.
No, Julia, go ahead and share your opportunity with others so they can actually benefit from it.
Oh, the opportunity. Yes, I just wanted to say that I'm very open if anyone wants to meet with me for 30 minutes just to talk about anything that I just was sharing about, any questions that you would have, curiosities, etc. Just please connect with me either through email or LinkedIn. Be great.
Great. So with that, we can say that through concerted actions, responsible stewardship, and adoption of green IT practices, we can create a future where AI drives progress in the environment. We open it for the questions. Over to you, Chaitra.
Thank you, Coelia, Julia, and Dexter. Didn't I tell you we can go for all day long on this conversation? And we'll bring you back in 2025 so that we can have more deeper conversation. Again, it was a great, insightful session. I took away something, Julia, which was very powerful, is planet is a system of systems. And we do need to take care of our planet by addressing one system at a time. And each one of us have the power to fix or address or innovate on a system. So with that, what was your key takeaway? Put it in the chat for me, because this one was so powerful. And Julia, you really empowered me. When I look at the climate action, I'm like, I don't know how to help other than throwing the garbage in the right way, not shopping too much. But if you think from a systematic way of what you can address, it will be pretty powerful. And Dexter, as always, have the scorecard metrics to measure. And when you can measure, it's very powerful. So thank you for all three of you to be here. So what is the next one? Let's do a drum roll for the best picked emoji is Maki Kampuru. The person actually shared the most beautiful GIF about the topic in hand. It was about us holding the earth together and saving the earth together. So thank you for being so active and appreciate it, Maki. Very cool that you're actively engaged today. Send your email so that we can send you the gift card by end of the day. Now, coming to the keynote of the day, the role of AI shaping sustainability practices. So Dexter, Julia, you can switch off your camera and mic and you will be good to go. And we'll bring you back again. So it is an absolute honor to introduce Sherry Heinisch from EY. She is the Global Consulting Sustainability Technology and Ecosystem Leader at EY. She guides clients on the net zero journey through the ESG data strategies, sustainable supply chain, and decarbonization innovation. With the passion in the diversity in STEM, she brings extensive expertise in sustainability, services, alliances, and strategy. Sherry holds master's degree from Harvard and Rutgers and has been recognized with multiple industry awards for her leadership in sustainability and supply chain transformation. Outside her work, she enjoys gardening and volunteering in her Maryland community, where she lives with her family. Sherry, so exciting to have you here today. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Thank you for inviting me. And I have thoroughly enjoyed listening in to the first two panel discussions. And hopefully I can answer some of the questions that I saw earlier in the chat.
Awesome. So before we get started, I want every one of you to share your participation in ESG. Make a signal in the world that you care about ESG, sustainability, and AI. And knowing Sherry will be very powerful for each one of you as you help innovate the systems in play. So with Sherry, I'm going to hand over the baton and you can take it from here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And if you could advance the slide, first, I just want to set the intention, thanking WIC and thanking EY and all of you for joining. EY is committed to building a world where people, planet, and business thrive, and thrilled to sponsor the event. What does sustainability and ESG mean to me? So you heard a little bit about my career journey. You heard a little bit about my role here at EY, but I'm joining you today as a concerned mother and as a steward and a neighbor in the world that we share. If you go to the next slide, I wanted to start just by highlighting that right now we are facing as a species two very large risks. One is climate change and variation, and the other is social inequity. And so when we think about the intersection of two revolutions and pairing that with two monumental risks, sustainability and AI are right at the center of that. One demands we change how we live, and the other enables us to do it. AI should belong to all of us. And I hope that each of you watching today see yourself and the role that you have in your daily life in some of the materials that we're going to unpack together. Next slide, please. So we've heard a little bit about emerging headlines, the double-edged nature of AI. I heard a couple folks talk about high energy consumption, the carbon footprint of data centers, of running AI models, etc. I do want to start on the left-hand portion of the slide and highlight the economic and innovative impact of AI. So actually starting with some positive news. The good news is that AI is no longer a nice to have. It's really an imperative as companies look to achieve meaningful, measurable, and scalable progress in sustainability, and specifically in ESG performance measurement, reporting, and underpinning data associated with that. According to the World Economic Forum, 70%, that's right, 70% of jobs will be transformed with AI by 2026. And notice I didn't say replaced. I said transformed. The beautiful thing about AI is I think it makes us better, can make us better versions of ourselves. You think about the top skills in the future of work, also another report published by the World Economic Forum. Number one emerging skill in terms of talent that is future fit, critical thinking. Number two is creativity. And creativity really encompasses the human soul on fire and all of the unique things that we can bring when coupled with AI on our side. I also want to highlight at the lower portion of this slide, emerging harms, bias, and ethics needed to safeguard AI. And a couple of the panelists have touched on this topic. There are issues of privacy, discrimination, autonomy, fairness, and accountability. And I'll touch on how that shows up specifically on the ESG agenda in the next slide. And last but not least, we see an emerging trend where big tech companies are actually going to become clean energy providers in the future. There are large investments, not only in renewable, but also in nuclear across large tech providers, where this could be a real tipping point for clean energy transition at a global scale. In the next slide, at a really high level, I want to frame what I view as the new paradigm of responsible compute. And so compute means everything that technology touches. And that can feel really overwhelming because, at least for me, I'm using AI many times a day in my role, not only to complete my task, but also building AI, operationalizing AI with some of our largest clients. When you think about how AI is reshaping business and how work gets done, there are a few drivers of change, and they have a profound impact on how we use technology. Environmental sustainability, which a couple of the panelists have already described, the computing energy consumption levels, and then the associated carbon emissions. There are ethical considerations, which are emerging, the digital divide. Obviously, there is an enormous population that still lacks access to Wi-Fi and digital connectivity. So we have to also ensure that we have equitable access for everyone when we think about AI and the role that it shapes in business and communities in the world we share. There's a social impact responsibility. So thinking about how we can use tech and AI for social good and common good. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a few slides. And last but not least, I think future preparedness. A lot of the forward-thinking policies that are needed and frameworks like the panel before my keynote, we need to make sure that we have guiding ethical development in how we deploy technology, AI, et cetera. So the key thing here to take away is that AI has to be harnessed in a responsible and purposeful way to help us address a lot of the big global challenges like climate change, like resource depletion, and social equity. And in the next slide, I'd like to talk a little bit about the latest AI trends that are shaping sustainability. And so what you'll often hear when you hear ESG, there are material topics. And right in the middle of the screen, you'll see some of those topics. Julia mentioned a lot of acronyms, and those acronyms are often tied to regulatory frameworks, specifically around ESG reporting. And if that's the first time that you're hearing some of those acronyms, it's okay. What's in the middle of the screen are material topics, and these are just a few that a lot of businesses, a lot of governments, and even folks like me, we organize technology around these topics. Think energy, waste, workforce, water. Data centers often comes up, and that's an emerging space right now. Climate and carbon, greenwashing, and a lot of the regulation around that topic. And then also, if you have a background in supply chain, inventory and demand planning, supplier transformation, etc. One of the most exciting trends that I'd like to unpack with you today is how AI is enabling real-time sustainability reporting and data management. It's moving it from a static once a year, twice a year exercise into something that's dynamic, that's responsive, and it's not just a static task of compliance. And so when we think about addressing interconnected but distinct aspects of AI and sustainability, I do want to just spend 60 seconds on this slide. Someone mentioned responsible AI earlier, and that would be on the right-hand portion of the slide. AI for sustainability is typically the application of AI technology. So think compliance, optimizing, and real transformation end to end to achieve ESG goals. So some of the examples where this shows up, again, like Julia mentioned before, how can we use AI for climate change mitigation to protect and preserve biodiversity in nature? How can we look at AI to minimize energy consumption and operations? And that's where we see a ton of significant investment happening right now. We also see a lot of use cases in how AI can advance human rights due diligence across supply chains. So to think about deep in your supply chain, connecting the field and the shelf, for example, to ensure that the product in your hand has a journey of its own making, and that making has been responsible and transparent, and that the company that manufactures, procures, produces, and sells this product is giving you as a consumer the right level of transparency and information. On the right-hand portion of the slide, I think this is what wakes me up every morning. It's focusing on ensuring that the development, the deployment, and the operation of AI technology, that it has the right moral and responsible governance and stewardship, the right intention. So design principles often come up here. Equitable representation in AI models, making sure that everyone on this webinar has a seat at the table and has a voice, and you don't have to scream for inclusion, that your ideas are represented by design and AI models that are shaping the lives and the world that we share. The other thing that comes up a lot is how can AI guarantee trust and enhance security? And that's a really big topic to unpick. And I don't have the answers, but it is something that comes up often when we think about sustainable or responsible AI. If we go to the next slide, I do want to spend some time on some real world use cases. So a couple folks in the chat have said, hey, what are you working on? Give us the latest market trends or industry trends and sector trends as well. So if we start from the left-hand portion of the screen, we see a lot of groundswell because of the regulatory pressure around sustainability reporting and performance management. So that's where you comply, think about sense making of regulatory frameworks, looking at double materiality that would include the risk, opportunity, and impact of focusing your efforts, data management. Wow, such a huge topic. I spend a lot of my time with clients on all of the underpinning connecting data to help people make more responsible, efficient, trusted decisions end to end in their operations. Moving to the middle, I think this is probably one of the biggest areas right now, sustainable supply chain. So when you think about supply chains, just zooming out, 40% of the world works in a supply chain. And you think about the movement of goods and services, pretty much everyone on this webinar participates in a supply chain. Some of the specific use cases that we see are centered around material science. So think about product design. Ellen MacArthur Foundation has published a ton of research around circularity and sustainable product design, and up to 85% of ESG-related impacts are designed into products. So we have to use AI in a way where we can think differently. We can open the aperture. We can look at designing for zero waste, designing for modularity, and designing within circular systems. Again, system impact was something that was mentioned on an earlier panel. The other thing that's, I think, a low-hanging fruit is the GHG, so greenhouse gas calculations, specifically in Scope 3 emissions. Scope 1 and 2, again, they're a bit easier for companies to get their arms around, but when you get into Scope 3, it can feel like a web of assumptions. I have a pretty deep supply chain background, and I can tell you that this is where clients are really struggling, and this is also where we see tremendous impact. Not just the reporting, but also think about supplier transformation, giving folks the right primary data and the right level of insights where we can go end to end and really make a difference, not only in decarbonization, but also tracking some of the human rights due diligence that I mentioned a few moments ago. Deforestation, or EUDR, is another thing that's really a trend right now. A lot of folks struggle with, in high risk commodity sourcing, ground truth. So how can we use AI, Gen AI, and space tech to get closer to the truth and what's happening in the field, on the ground, and sense make? Are we doing the right thing? Are we doing what we said we would do? And are we ensuring that we have the level of responsibility and documented proof of performance when we are complying with some of the emerging regulations? And then lastly, on the far right-hand portion of the screen, I mentioned some of the decarbonization application of AI, smart grid management, renewable energy integration, energy consumption optimization. And what's really important about this, and if you take one thing away from this slide in that column, is just because folks transition to renewable energy or green energy doesn't mean that they're consuming it responsibly, right? So AI helps with a lot of that optimization, making the best use of even renewable energy sources. And to wrap up, I thought it would be super cool just to give folks a sense of strategy. What can leaders do to leverage AI for sustainability? And if you go to the next slide, I've boiled it down to 4 points. The first is sustainability is a team sport. So leverage your partner ecosystems for AI. We use Microsoft, obviously. There was someone from SAP that opened the session, IBM, ServiceNow, you name it. Also universities, there are tons of people that we've met, early hire professionals that are, again, super brilliant, have great ideas, nonprofits, NGOs, EY ripples, you name it. Sustainability is a team sport, and it takes the right cognitive diversity and representation for us to have super cool and representative AI models. The next point is around phoning a friend. And it's something that I've done in my career, even as recently as yesterday. Never underestimate the importance and the urgency of sustainability to other people. All of us are here because we want to make an impact, I think, and sustainability and AI should belong to everyone in this webinar. And so when you think about if you're struggling with a challenge or you just want to brainstorm, sustainability and purpose-led intention in business transformation is a great way to get started. Sustainable AI mindset. I didn't have a lot of time to walk through that, but I think pairing green or sustainable first design principles is really important, but also intention. Many years ago in black belt training, my instructor told me that the continuous improvement of the candle did not result in the invention of the light bulb. So when you think about a sustainable AI mindset, it's really a growth mindset. It's thinking about systems, it's thinking about others, that we are all connected in the world, and climate connects us in ways that we probably can't even fathom or understand. But you need to have that open aperture when you go into some of these advanced AI models and use cases. And then lastly, AI belongs to all of us. It's already delivering results today, and I hope that you got a flavor of that so far in this webinar. But the real breakthroughs are going to come from visionary leaders, creating accessibility, people like you and I, the right inclusion, and what I call the unusual collaborators. So cross-sector collaboration where we all can learn from each other. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you, and wishing you all the best as you continue to explore AI, ESG, and sustainability in your roles.
Sherry, that was fantastic. There were a couple of things I learned, which was everyone in the room is participating in a supply chain, and that is a powerful statement. And I think every one of you who are here today, just remember you're part of that supply chain. You're creating the demand, or you're the supply, right? So making sure that you are thinking with a right conscious mind, and also the urgency to make sure everything is working the way you want will be really cool. And Sherry, what was your biggest moment learning about sustainability and AI as you've been working in this industry for a long time?
One of the big aha moments, I think, was turning some of maybe the fear or the lack of understanding into a real opportunity. When the emergence of ChatGPT, maybe a little less than 2 years ago, I actually went in and just to tinker around because I'm a nerd. And I said, how can we solve climate change? And do you know what the answer was? If you eliminate humans on Earth, you can solve climate change and restore the Earth to regenerative status. And one of the things that I took away from that is that we are part of the solution. Like, AI is not going to replace the power, the creativity of human beings. I think what we can do is it can augment, and it can actually make us far more productive, and it can open the aperture in terms of the amount of information that we're able to process and sense make. And so I was really encouraged by that first prompt almost 2 years ago. And I thought, maybe AI won't replace me as a consultant. But I would encourage all of you to just try. There's a lot of information at your fingertips if you're looking to build your own models, and certainly a lot of providers who I won't mention on this call. It's open access, it's free to get started.
Again, Sherry, thank you so much. And the aha moment was actually me asking something similar to the ChatGPT. And I said, oh, we need to think very differently in how we approach the world. So thank you again for being here. So all of you, you're watching, it's like already 2 hours into this one. I want you to get up and just move a little bit, because we will go into the workshop. style, where we'll have Eric Archer come and teach us how to create your custom GPT, how to think about prompting, and how to think about AI video production, which would be very phenomenal. So who's ready for that? Put it in the chat, ready. I would love to have my own custom GPT for sure. Okay, so before we wrap with Sherry, I want you to share what was your takeaway with Sherry. Look at that, Sherry. People love the emojis. So it was very inspiring for a lot of people. Sustainability is a team sport. To think with a growth mindset, AI is for all is the main takeaway. We have the capability to make a difference. Collaboration is key. And again, we are so fortunate to have EY as our strategic partner, helping move the needle on the ESG and helping women actually participate in this conversation. So I want to actually have this beautiful video, which I want all of us to watch before I bring Eric to the stage. And Sherry, you can just say camera off, mic off, so you will be perfect. Carolina, go ahead.
I am the earth. I have thousands of faces and colors. I am black, yellow, white, red, gold. When I get angry, I am the color of fire. Sometimes I am hard. Sometimes I am fragile. In the desert, I become infinite. I kiss the sky when I become a mountain. I am a nomad, an explorer, a traveler. Sometimes I want to escape, so I become dust to dance with the winds. With human beings, I have a special relationship. Your children come to meet me for their first steps. Your elder people come to me for a long and peaceful sleep. I offer you flowers, plants, and trees with delicious fruits. I wish we could have that beautiful relationship again. I am the earth.
Wasn't that a beautiful representation of how we can become the integrated earth? So with that, it's an honor to introduce Eric, because you create these kind of beautiful videos, and you're a trailblazer at the intersection of creative media, AI strategy, and storytelling innovation. One thing that I've seen Eric do is push the limit of traditional content development by harnessing the power of AI and digital media to craft compelling narratives and strategic solution. With his unique blend of creativity, technical expertise, and strategic acumen, positions him as a leader in the evolving AI landscape of digital content. So today, he's actually going to show us how to think about prompting and ChatGPT and how to automate custom tasks so you become the powerful version of yourself, and also an AI video production, like what you saw, just a glimpse of an AI. I think it's an AI video creation, Eric. So I just picked one of the most beautiful one, which represents ESG today. So with that, welcome today.
Thank you very much, Chaitra. It's great to be here. This is exciting.
What are we going to see?
It's been great so far.
Okay, cool. What did you learn today?
I really liked the optimistic takes that were in this together. A lot of it, truthfully, was not stuff I had really thought about before. So it's really got the gears turning. And of course, because of what I do, I think about what content could I make to support the cause.
Absolutely. Eric, recently, Prue and I becoming the executive producers in the Hollywood, your work comes high on the top of it because you actually can produce without any people or stuff. But when you have the people using this technology, it takes to a completely different level of content development. So what are we going to see today?
Yeah, so I'm an individual content creator, and I have gotten very excited about generative AI content creation, but I've also gotten deep into the weeds of custom GPTs within ChatGPT. And so I'm going to start there and then migrate over into some of the image generation and video generation stuff that's available, just to scratch the surface there. My day job is running a small television station in Massachusetts, and we are a nonprofit. And so we are relatively resource starved. And so when ChatGPT and Midjourney came out a little under 2 years ago, it was very clear to me that they were real resource gains. And that was exciting. And in addition to that, it was going to impact my industry directly with all of the visual generative tools and audio generative tools. Being an optimist about all this, I dove in, and it became clear to me really early that custom GPTs were a way that I, as a non-technical person who cannot code, how I could actually make myself personalized tools to help me with my work. So I'm going to go over a little bit of that now. And if anyone is not familiar, custom GPTs exist within Chat. Let me share my screen. That would be a good idea.
Sure, sure. As you're sharing, I'm going to share this one. I want each one of you to really signal the world that you are participating in ESG, AI, and sustainability. We are at 38,000 reach in LinkedIn. Collective goal, if you believe in collective action, you have to participate collectively. Let's see if we can get to 100,000 by the end of the session. So that way, we all get to participate in the most important conversation that's happening right now in the world. So with that, Rick, you can start the conversation for us.
Chaitra, just confirming you can see
Yes.
the GPT screen.
Yes, we can.
Great, excellent. So this is the ChatGPT. If you're in ChatGPT and you just go right here to explore GPTs, this is where it brings you. And you can create your own GPT here. And this becomes a little personalized, customized tool. And this is the interface where you would make it. And you can see how simple it is and non-threatening. All you're doing is giving it a name, maybe an icon, a description, and then instructions for what you want it to do. And you can upload files to it so it will have knowledge, and you can ask it to access the web or generate images or use code interpreter. And so I have made a lot of these now for a whole different range of things. And so I quickly started to size out of the OpenAI interface here. As you can see, I'm constantly, when I want to use one, I'm having to load and load. So I wound up migrating everything over to this infinite whiteboard solution called Whimsical. And so this is just a wireframe so that I can keep track of my GPTs in a more visual way. And so these are all GPTs that do different things. These are some that I built for clients, and these are some that I use for myself. You can see that they do a range of different things, from planning to creative things to communication, strategy, analysis, research. These are some of the tools that I built for my team at our nonprofit. I'll show you into this one here. This is a fun one to demo because the instructions are as simple as they get. What this is, my company is called 1623 Studios, and we have a staff of a half a dozen people. And sometimes they have questions. And so I made this GPT, and they can say things like, hey, I'm a new employee, and I want to get up to speed on our strategic plan. And it will, you see, it says it's searching its knowledge, and it's going to come back with that answer. So it's going to go look into the documents, and I'll show you that in a moment, where the answers are. So what this is doing is, under the hood here, you see again this interface from how to make where you would make a GPT. And I've called it the 1623 resource. I've given it an image. I've given it a brief description. And this is literally all the instructions. This is a GPT for 1623 Studio staff members to get questions answered. Use a professional tone. So there's no real power in the instructions at all. Where the power is in this tool is the fact that I have uploaded all of these organizational documents to it. And you'll notice I've turned off the web browsing. And that's so that when I ask this thing a question, it does not go search the web. I only want it to look at these documents here. And keep in mind, I did not do anything to organize these documents at all. I didn't recreate them for this purpose. I stuck them in as they were. And it works really well. So you could get a strategy question, or you could say, cool, what's the dress code? Whatever information is going to be in those documents, it will go find it. And so that can be an easy one. I have to write monthly reports to my board of directors, and they follow a template. And so now I've stuffed a bunch of successful ones into this thing, and I can say this month we covered 30 municipal meetings, live streamed 3 events, produced 2 original series, and held an AI workshop. And you'll see it put that information into the template of my report, which it knows. So it'll draft this for me. And this task that used to take me the better part of a day sometimes is now 80% done in just a minute. And I can speak this in to my phone on the way into work, and it will do it and have it teed up and ready for me. You can do other things like, let's see here, nonprofit. I forget why exactly I made this one, but this is, if you put in a specific nonprofit, it will deliver you a value prop generator. It'll deliver you a clear value proposition. Let's see. I also...
Eric, we also talked about the value prop generation from an individual perspective. What value can you create for others instead of just saying, I want to do this? Instead of that, how can I add value for the organization?
How can you add value for the organization?
Yes. So that's what you were talking about when we were chatting on the value prop generator.
Let's see.
Let's see.
All right. So I'm going to throw out a nonprofit, and I'll plug it in here. Let's see. How about, is there a obvious nonprofit you're working with, Chaitra?
Just say is unlock $1 billion in economic access for women in cloud.
Oh, that's not what this one's going to do. I think you might be, are you thinking of the broader batch of GPTs?
Yeah, that's fine. Keep going. You do your stuff, and then we'll come back and then play with it.
Okay. Yeah, there are some more business-oriented ones. Just want to see if there's anything else here I wanted to show. Yeah, so I'll come back to these in a moment. But basically, it became clear to me that you could make these for just about anything. So I had this concept for a suite of GPTs that conduct analysis for business, and I went ahead and made it once I got pretty good at these. And so now I have this system. None of these down here are made yet, but I can see that they can be. All of these here are. And so these are for helping you and your business. If you were a startup or something and you wanted to, let's say, do some market positioning, you would click on this. And I made it so that it will you just click a button and it will guide you through that particular analysis. And it's nice because it will meet you where you are and be a good educational tool if you're a relatively new to the company, or if you're a senior executive, you can have a very high level conversation with these things. And so I think, Chaitra, this might have been what you were referencing, where you can do this on behalf of your company really well.
Exactly.
Oh, I think you were looking at the business analysis one. So that one.
Okay, that's okay. There's one question, Eric. One is, how do we know my documents are secured and not risk of getting exposed? That's a very good question.
It is a good question. And I think that there may be some protection within using custom GPTs, although I think you should really be careful about uploading anything at all to ChatGPT and assume that it could be taken for training. Fortunately for me, I'm in a creative space where I don't have a lot of proprietary data that I have to like worry about that. But
Yeah, Karima was saying is it's impressive for someone who's not in tech as able to create all these chat GPTs. So Eric, bravo to you. One of the things that you did was when you were creating the chat GPT, it says click here to start. How do
yeah,
you do that? Like how do you make that kind
sure.
of an app?
So you will, let's see if I can show a step one without. So basically, I don't want to show under the hood of those ones, but there is basically in the instructions, I will say step one, do this. Step two, do that. Let me see here. Let me pull up one that I can share. Let's see if this one has a step in it. This one doesn't have steps, but this is a better look at when I have not uploaded documentation, the power has to come from the instructions. And so the template that I have found works really well if you're making a custom GPT and you're not uploading instructions, you just want to tell it to do something. If you start with an overview and an objective and explain what's going on and why you're doing it or why it's doing it, and you clearly explain what you're going to give it as an input, and then clearly explain what its processing steps are, that is where I would say the user is going to, the first step is the user is going to click on a button. And when they do, respond with this. And so it will do it that way. So that's, let me see, do I have one where I can show that?
And you have a lot of questions, Eric.
What else? Let's see. All right, so let me get back on track here. I'm going to move over now, if it's okay, into some of the image stuff. I will quickly show you. I know where that business processing one is now. Where did that go? I think this is the one you were asking about, Chaitra, the one that does all the business analysis.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so this one, if you just put your business in, do you have a business you'd like me to run?
Let's give me a name. I want people on the chat. Give me a name of a business, a company that you want a research on. Let's see what comes out of here. SoftBank.
So what this GPT is designed to do is exhaustive business research, and it's going to come back with every analysis pretty much that it can do based on what it finds. And it's citing its sources, which is nice.
And also it's very good if you're going into an interview process or you're actually having a partnership conversation. This can be such a beautiful content to really go through.
Yeah, and this is just going to return basically a nice bit of research, and then you can take this research and do what you want with it. For example, I can take this research and I made a GPT that will take that information and mine it for storytelling elements. So if I'm just right now, what I'm doing is copying the information that just gave me about SoftBank, and I'm going to paste it into this GPT that I made. And what this one does is look for storytelling elements within the research. What that's going to do, I'll show you under the hood here while that runs. This is going to be looking for things that are innovative, impactful, human, unusual, quirky, recurring themes, things like that, that might help me because typically I'm trying to tell a story about a company. And did I click on the wrong one? No. So this is supposed to, it's still giving me research, it looks like. This is supposed to give me some raw material for creative storytelling. So I, as the human in the loop, would go back through this and kind of mine it for things that might be interesting to me. I find that this kind of thing works about 6 out of 10 times, which for me in the creative space is great. But if you needed it to be factually accurate, 6 out of 10 times would be terrible. There's that. Would now be a good time to make the switch, Chaitra?
Yes.
All right, great. One of the things that can get us there is Midjourney is a generative image. It's an image generator tool, and it takes prompts to make those images. So I was trying a little exercise during the earlier part here where I was trying to make a meme about a happy earth sustained by AI. What this GPT will do is take this rough idea and give me a very clear Midjourney prompt based on the kind of language that Midjourney considers and takes. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to go over and show you this platform here, which is called Midjourney. And this is where I make generative images. And I will copy that prompt in here and see what we get. This is probably the best image generator out there. I'm using this, that loads, I'm using this to create all kinds of imagery for all kinds of commercials. I've now made 2 30-second commercials entirely generatively by making the images here in Midjourney and then bringing them into another platform, which I'll show you in a moment. So let's see what kind of earth we get here.
Oh, nice. I love it.
See if we can win our meme contest live. Right. So what it's going to do is it's going to give us 4 images like this. And what's great is you can get variations of the one that you want. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And let's say I like number 3, I can get 4 more versions of it, and I can change the prompt if I'm not happy with it. But for now, I'll leave it alone. And so you can start to treat imagery like clay and mold it with these variations in the way that you want until you're happy. And then when you have the image that you're happy with, you can turn that into video. Let's say that I'm happy with let's see, number 2 looks pretty cool. I can upscale that. What I'm going to do is just skip that step for speed here, and I'll just save it. Now I can go over to this tool called Runway, and I can put that image into Runway. And I can give it a prompt like Earth smiles as the camera moves down, let's say. And we'll do just 5 seconds and we'll make our meme. And in the meantime, what we could do is we could go over to 11 Labs, which does AI sound effects, and we could say the sound the earth makes when it smiles. Let's see what 11 Labs thinks that sounds. And then if I can bring that in and layer these elements together, well, those sound strange. Might have to try that a few times. But I could also go over to Udio and I could make a song, and I could say a 15-second happy song about, and that will get to work on my song. Looks like it's taken a little longer than usual, but that is the basic idea, and that is how I'll share my whole screen now for a moment.
So Eric, here's what we will do. For the interest of time, you keep processing it, and then you can upload it, and maybe after 15 minutes, you can come and show the output of it. Is that helpful? Was this
Absolutely.
helpful for all of you? There are like a lot of chat GPTs that he has created. I'm going to put in the link so you can actually find all the GPTs that he has created, whether it is for branding, if it's for value. But just know that you have to have a chat GPT platform or access to do it. And to create one, you have to have a subscription to do the custom GPT. And Eric, just after meeting you, I've done like 3 GPTs and it's been pretty fun. But I think I would need a master class with you for just to perfect it where we want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did get the video back.
Wait,
Let's see.
it. Let's see it.
Did I stop sharing? Let's see. All right. So here's our smiling Earth, or at least the camera's moving down. It's not really making the Earth smile, but this is the process by which I have made many full videos. Not sure if you can see and hear these, but this kind of thing is entirely generated with Midjourney to Runway. It's got AI sound effects from 11 Labs and an AI song from Udio about skateboarding and graffiti.
Graffiti, drip colors on the spree. East Coast vibes, feeling carefree. Graffiti in the air, let's spray. Skateboard flying, make sway. City lights spread will never fade. Hip hop beats is how we play.
Wow.
You can make any kind of style. This was a paid spot I made for a crypto company, all Midjourney to Runway. This was another crypto company. They seem to like AI ads going through you saw some of those soccer pictures earlier. This was for a crypto company in Argentina. And this was a documentary that I made about my own ancestor using the same technology. This guy lived in the 1800s. He was my great grandfather, and I had a few pictures. So I was able to use these tools to bring him to life. And so that's the fun I've been having. I know, I'm sorry, it's a little scattered, but it bridges a couple different very different spaces.
That's fine, Eric. So this is like a sneak preview of what you can do with AI technologies. Question for all of you. Should we bring back Eric to do a master class on how to create our custom GPTs and our ads, our own personal ads? Yes. So Eric, you're invited back again, and we will look something in 2025 so you can have a very good year. But again, thank you so much for just opening up our minds of what's possible. But one thing I realized is without our unique mind power, the technology cannot do what it needs to do. It's really your creativity that comes in combination with the technology is what makes it happen. Okay, so coming to the next power panel, boy, they have to match this one. They have to match the navigating the intersection of AI and corporate responsibility. And it's my pleasure to introduce Lisa Bersati, a seasonal corporate legal counsel at Insight with over a decade of experience in privacy and data protection law across the domestic and international landscape. Known for her is a proactive problem-solving approach and ability to bridge law and technology. Lisa brings a strategic edge to every challenge. She holds the certification as an informational privacy professional in US and Europe and earned her law degree from Thomas Jefferson School Law. Lisa is also a guest lecturer on the cybersecurity and privacy and has co-authored several influential articles on data breach prevention, and her work exemplifies the perfect blend of legal expertise and technological insight and tenacity, making her the leader in privacy and data protection. So welcome, Lisa. Are you having fun today?
Yes, this is great. I don't know how we follow that last one, but you know what? We're going to give it the old college try. We will definitely try.
I'm going to hand over the baton to you because I think everything will connect, because at the end of the day, these tools are here. If you're not responsible, then you're going to get into trouble. And that's why we have you here to help all of us to ground ourselves together. So with that, passing the baton to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Chai. Hi, everyone. I'm joined today by my new bestie, Emily Will. Emily, did you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, of course. And hi, everyone. It's really great to be here today. And it's just been so inspiring and educational listening to all the previous speakers. I know that I had no idea that ChatGPT could do all of those things. But to briefly introduce myself, I'm Emily Will, and I'm the EY Global Impact Entrepreneurship Leader. And for those of you here today who may not know, EY is a global professional services firm with over 400,000 people in 150 countries. And I sit on the EY Global Corporate Responsibility team. And through EY Ripples, our global social impact program, we have the ambition to positively impact 1 billion lives. And I guess how I fit into that, one of the ways that we're achieving that ambition is by extending our people's skills, knowledge, and expertise on a not-for-profit basis to impact entrepreneurs around the world, to really support them to scale their businesses. And impact entrepreneurs combine profit and purpose. So they drive both financial value and value towards a social or environmental mission by leveraging market-driven solutions. They really aim to build a more equitable, inclusive, and sustainable world, tackling issues such as climate change, food insecurity, to social and economic inequity, and beyond.